Earth had always been a place of peace and stability. People went about their daily lives, unaware of the dangers that might lurk beyond the stars. The planet was thriving, its cities were busy, and its governments were focused on keeping things running smoothly. But deep in space, things were not so peaceful. Across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. The kind of whispers that made even the bravest warriors nervous. For years, there had been rumors about an alien race, one far more advanced than anything humanity had ever seen. These aliens were not like the peaceful ones Earth had encountered before. They were said to be ruthless conquerors, with no mercy for any planet they chose to target. But no one took the rumors seriously. After all, there had been so many false alarms in the past. Then, one day, everything changed. It started with a strange signal. At first, it was barely noticed. A faint noise picked up by the most advanced listening posts in the galaxy. It wasn't anything extraordinary. Just another wave of static that could have been caused by anything, from a passing asteroid to a malfunctioning satellite. But as more time passed, the signal grew stronger. And then, it started to repeat. Scientists on Earth had been tracking space signals for decades, trying to detect intelligent life. They had heard many strange signals before, but nothing like this. The signal was not random. It had a pattern, a message embedded within it. The best minds on Earth worked around the clock to decode it. At first, it seemed like just another puzzle, something to pass the time. But as the signal became clearer, they realized this was something different. This wasn't some distant call from a neighboring planet. It was a direct message. A message that was slowly becoming louder and clearer, as if it was meant to be heard. It was when the signal began repeating itself in a loop that Earth's top scientists realized the gravity of the situation. The message was not just some random noise, it was a warning. The transmission seemed to be directed at Earth specifically. And it wasn't a friendly warning either. The message, when finally decoded, read, "Your planet has been marked. Prepare for the end." Panic spread throughout the scientific community. No one knew what it meant, but the words were chilling. The message was clear enough, Earth was in danger. But what could it mean? Who was behind this warning? And why was Earth, of all places, being singled out? For days, the message repeated, sending shivers down the spines of those who understood its meaning. Governments across the world began to take notice. The military, which had once laughed off the rumors of a galactic threat, suddenly found itself on high alert. Satellites and defense systems were activated, but no one knew exactly what they were preparing for. How could they fight an enemy they had never even seen? The message grew louder, more frequent. The once peaceful days on Earth were slowly slipping away. Citizens tried to continue with their lives, but they couldn't ignore the growing tension. News reports began to cover the strange signal, and people everywhere started to whisper about what it could mean. The whole world was on edge. Meanwhile, the alien fleet, if it even existed, remained a mystery. No one knew how far away they were, or even if they had already started their journey. But as days passed, the fear began to spread. Governments began to secretly prepare for the worst. The military ramped up its efforts, but they had no idea how to fight something they knew so little about. But no one could deny that something was coming. Something that made the entire galaxy hold its breath. The calm before the storm had settled over Earth, and the world could feel it. Every person, from the humblest worker to the richest leader, could sense the tension in the air. They all knew, deep down, that something was about to change. And that change might not be something they could stop. As the days passed, the world held its breath. The signal continued to echo in the back of their minds. Earth's fate was uncertain, but one thing was clear, the calm would not last much longer. The message kept repeating, its strange tone becoming harder and harder to ignore. Scientists on Earth had been working tirelessly to decode it, but no one seemed to understand what it meant. The transmission was unlike anything they had encountered before. It wasn't just a warning, it was a call. But a call for what? The best minds on Earth gathered in secret meetings, trying to find answers. But each time they thought they were getting closer to understanding the message, it became even more confusing. The words didn't make sense. The pattern of the signal shifted. It was as if the message itself was changing, adapting to the efforts of those trying to decode it. Some experts believed it was a trick. A sophisticated hoax meant to cause panic. But there were others who believed the transmission was real, and it was becoming more and more difficult to ignore their fears. The message grew louder and clearer, filling the airwaves with its strange sound. Then, one night, the message changed again. It wasn't just the same repeating pattern anymore. This time, there was something new. A new set of words emerged from the signal, different from anything that had come before. The message was no longer just a warning. It was a direct communication, and it seemed to be meant for Earth, specifically. When the new transmission was decoded, it sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The message was simple, but its meaning was clear: the galaxy is watching. Your time is almost up. The whole world was in shock. Earth was no longer just a target for some unknown alien force. Now, it seemed as if every other civilization in the galaxy had their eyes on the planet. The message made it clear: the galaxy knew about Earth, and it had been watching for a long time. Governments scrambled to act. Military forces around the world were put on high alert, but the question on everyone's mind remained the same: what were they preparing for? The message had given no hint of what was to come, only that Earth was being watched. Some experts believed it was the first step in an invasion, while others feared that the galaxy was preparing to wipe Earth out before it could even defend itself. There were rumors of other civilizations far beyond Earth that had fallen victim to the same mysterious transmission. Planets that had once thrived were now nothing more than empty husks, their inhabitants gone. But no one knew if the message meant Earth was next on that list. What if the galaxy was simply waiting for the right moment to strike? Panic spread faster than ever. People began to fear the unknown. In cities across the world, mass gatherings were taking place, and people were asking the same question: who could save Earth from this threat? Was there a force strong enough to stand against the galaxy's power? But the truth was, no one had any answers. The military and governments continued to prepare for an attack that they didn't fully understand, and scientists worked day and night to decipher the message. Yet, each time they thought they understood it, something new would emerge that changed everything. The transmission seemed to have a mind of its own, always staying one step ahead. And as the days passed, the world grew more restless. It was as if a storm was brewing in the distant corners of space, one that was sure to change everything. The message had struck fear into the hearts of everyone, and now, the galaxy was watching Earth with bated breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Would the mysterious alien force come for Earth? Or was there something even bigger happening behind the scenes that no one could yet comprehend? The calm was over. The world was on the edge, waiting for the next signal to arrive, knowing that it might bring an answer to the question that everyone feared to ask: what was the galaxy planning for Earth? As the mysterious transmission continued to echo through the galaxy, panic started to spread far beyond Earth. The message, which had once been a strange noise in the background, had now become the center of attention for every advanced civilization. It wasn't just Earth that was affected, it was the entire galaxy. The Galactic Council, a group of the most powerful and influential beings from different planets, called an emergency meeting. Representatives from over 100 different species gathered in secret, each one bringing their own concerns and theories about the transmission. Many had received the same signal, but each planet's reaction was different. Some planets were already preparing for war, mobilizing fleets and stockpiling weapons. Others, who had heard the rumors of the galaxy's most feared conquerors, began to question whether Earth had triggered the wrath of an ancient force. Some of these civilizations had long ago learned to avoid certain parts of space, knowing that some powers were best left undisturbed. And now, it seemed as though that dark force was coming for Earth. The Council's discussions were tense. Some argued that Earth was too insignificant to warrant the attention of such a powerful alien race. They believed the transmission could be a misunderstanding, a result of some galactic glitch or miscommunication. But others were not so sure. The words of the message, "Your planet has been marked. Prepare for the end," seemed to carry a much darker meaning. Then came the news that shocked everyone: the transmission had been heard throughout the galaxy. It wasn't just Earth that was in danger, it was every planet within the reach of the signal. The alien force behind the message was far more powerful than anyone had imagined, and their reach extended across star systems. Their fleet was vast, and their purpose was clear: they were coming for Earth, and they would not stop until they had claimed it. At this point, the Galactic Council knew that Earth's fate was no longer in its own hands. The message had united the galaxy in fear. Some civilizations, who had once been rivals, now stood together, bound by a common cause, to protect the galaxy from the unknown force that threatened to destroy it. But even as alliances were formed and plans were put in motion, the question remained: could Earth survive this threat? Back on Earth, the government and military worked tirelessly to prepare for an invasion that was still only a shadow in the distance. The people were scared, unsure of what was happening or how to protect themselves. The military had upgraded Earth's defenses to their maximum potential, but no one knew if that would be enough. The aliens had not shown their hand, and it was unclear how much power they truly had. Meanwhile, the transmission continued, sending a message that grew more chilling each time it repeated. "The galaxy is watching," it said. "Your time is almost up." Every time it played, it seemed to draw the eyes of every civilization toward Earth. The fear was growing. If the galaxy was watching, then surely they had already made up their minds. Earth would be the next target. But what if the galaxy wasn't just watching Earth? What if the transmission was meant to send a message to all the planets in the galaxy? What if the aliens were not only targeting Earth but also testing the resolve of every civilization? Across the stars, there was a sense of quiet terror. It wasn't just about protecting Earth anymore, it was about protecting the entire galaxy from a force that seemed unstoppable. There was talk of forming alliances, preparing fleets, and making weapons that had never been seen before. And yet, the fear lingered. The question everyone asked was simple, but terrifying: if this alien force could wipe out entire civilizations, how could Earth stand a chance? The response from the galaxy was clear: Earth was not alone. But that didn't mean Earth would survive. Back on Earth, the situation was becoming more urgent by the day. The transmission was no longer just an abstract threat. It was real, and the world was beginning to understand the gravity of the situation. Fear was now a common feeling, shared by people of every nation. Earth was no longer the quiet planet it had once been, it was now a planet on the edge of survival. The world's leaders gathered for emergency meetings. The United Nations, along with military leaders from all corners of Earth, had no choice but to take the threat seriously. There was no longer any time to ignore the possibility of an invasion. But as much as they tried to prepare, no one had any real answers. No one knew who or what the alien force was, and no one knew how to fight them. The military had advanced technology, but it was still based on Earth's understanding of science. How could they face a threat from an alien race with technology far beyond anything they had ever encountered? Even with their most powerful weapons, Earth's military forces felt like a single ant trying to fight a massive, unstoppable beast. The government put out a public statement, asking citizens to remain calm and trust that the authorities were doing everything they could. But for many, this was easier said than done. People watched the news, glued to every update, their hearts racing. Some were even leaving their homes, seeking shelter in underground bunkers, unsure if they'd ever see the surface again. Scientists were working around the clock to study the mysterious transmission. Experts from around the world were assigned to decode every part of the message, hoping for a clue that could provide insight into the aliens' intentions. But each time they thought they were close, another curveball was thrown. The signal would change, making it seem as though the aliens were deliberately keeping them in the dark. It was as though the aliens were playing a game with Earth, but no one knew what the rules were. Meanwhile, Earth's military leaders were focusing on defense. It wasn't clear what they were defending against, but they knew they had to be ready. Satellites were positioned around the planet, watching for any sign of an incoming attack. Laser defenses were set up around major cities. Fighters were on standby, waiting for the order to launch. But still, no one knew what they were facing. The uncertainty was the hardest part. In every corner of Earth, fear was growing. People wondered if they would survive. Would they be ready in time? Would they even have a chance against a power they could not understand? But there were also those who believed. They didn't just sit back and wait for an invasion, they fought back. Many tech companies started working on new technologies, sending teams of engineers and scientists to create anything that might help. Some groups of civilians started organizing, offering support to local governments in whatever way they could. It was in moments like these that humanity's strength became clear. Earth might not have the resources of a galaxy-spanning empire, but it had something else: determination. On the streets, people came together to share what they knew, to comfort one another, and to prepare for whatever might come. But even in their unity, they felt the weight of the unknown. What if the aliens had already arrived? What if they were hidden among them, preparing to strike when Earth least expected it? As military forces worked on strengthening Earth's defenses, an unexpected development occurred. The message changed once again, but this time, it was not the cryptic warning they had come to expect. It was direct. A new transmission arrived, and it carried with it a chilling announcement. "We are coming. Your time has run out." The words were cold and final. It felt like a countdown, the beginning of the end. And for the first time, Earth's leaders knew one thing for certain: this wasn't a drill. This wasn't just a warning anymore, it was a declaration of war. With this new transmission, everything changed. Earth had no more time for uncertainty or half-measures. The entire planet's focus shifted toward one goal: survival. It was clear now that the galaxy's greatest fear was becoming Earth's greatest battle. The world stood still. The transmission had sent shockwaves across Earth, but the news of the final message was now everywhere. Governments scrambled to act, the military readied its forces, and citizens everywhere wondered the same thing: what comes next? The mysterious alien force had made it clear that Earth's time was running out. For days, the message echoed in every language, every system, every satellite feed. "We are coming. Your time has run out." The words haunted humanity's collective consciousness. In the chaos that followed, Earth's leaders faced a difficult truth: they were no longer in control of their fate. No matter how many defensive systems they had in place, no matter how many weapons they could prepare, there was no way to be certain it would be enough. The alien fleet, if it truly existed, was likely far beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. How could they fight an enemy that had never been seen before? In military headquarters across the globe, the countdown had begun. There was no longer any time to prepare fully. Some military leaders pushed for an immediate strike, but others feared that acting too soon might provoke the unknown enemy into retaliating before Earth was ready. The tension in the air was thick. Every passing moment brought them closer to the unknown. Despite the growing anxiety, humanity's resilience began to shine through. Scientists worked around the clock, looking for new ways to counteract the alien force. Tech companies put their best minds to the task, creating makeshift weapons and defenses based on Earth's limited understanding of the enemy's technology. Each day, they made small advancements, but the question remained: would it be enough? People on the streets of Earth remained on edge. While the governments and military planned their moves, the ordinary citizens couldn't help but feel the weight of the unknown. The idea that an alien force was coming to Earth, ready to strike without warning, was too much to bear. Stories of evacuations, military drills, and underground bunkers filled the news. Shelters were built. Food and supplies were stockpiled. Yet, deep down, most people understood that preparing for the worst wasn't the same as surviving it. Amid the growing uncertainty, an unexpected message arrived, a final plea from an unknown source. It wasn't an alien message this time, but one from another galactic civilization. The message was brief, almost cryptic, but it offered a glimmer of hope. You are not alone. Fight, and you will survive. We cannot give you all the answers, but you must stand together. It was a strange and brief message, leaving more questions than answers. Who had sent it? What civilization was offering help? The message was anonymous, leaving humanity to wonder if they could trust it. As Earth continued its frantic preparations, something strange happened in the skies. Satellites that had been positioned around the planet to monitor any incoming threats began to pick up unusual activity. At first, it was dismissed as a malfunction, but the signals became clearer by the hour. Something was moving. And it was coming closer. The clock was ticking. With each passing day, Earth's military forces grew more alert. They began to scan every possible entry point into the solar system, hoping to catch a glimpse of the alien fleet before it arrived. Still, the transmission had provided no clear indication of when the alien forces would strike, only that the countdown had begun. Then came the first signs of the alien fleet. It was a distant blur on the edge of Earth's sensors, too far to make out, too close to ignore. The eerie silence of space was broken by faint signals, barely detectable. Humanity had no way of knowing exactly how many ships there were or how powerful they were, but they knew this: the enemy was on the move. In a final push, Earth's leaders made a desperate call for unity. This was no longer a time for division. The entire planet would need to fight as one. All resources, all knowledge, and all strength would be focused on one goal: survival. The countdown had begun, and humanity had no choice but to prepare for the battle of its life. But even in the face of overwhelming fear, there was a strange sense of determination in the air. Earth would not go down without a fight. And in the depths of space, the alien fleet drew closer. Their arrival was inevitable. The galaxy was watching, and Earth's fate would soon be sealed. The days blurred together as Earth held its breath. The countdown had reached its final stages, and the alien fleet was getting closer. It was a strange feeling for humanity, knowing that everything was about to change, and no one truly understood how. People continued their preparations, but there was an overwhelming sense of helplessness in the air. Then, one morning, Earth received another transmission, a final one. This time, there was no mystery. There was no code to break. No cryptic message to decipher. The transmission was loud and clear, cutting through all static and interference, and its message was both terrifying and oddly personal. We are here. The words were simple, but they sent chills down the spine of every person on Earth. There was no longer any doubt. The enemy had arrived. They weren't waiting anymore. The battle was about to begin. The transmission continued, but this time it didn't carry the warning of impending destruction. Instead, it carried an unsettling message that made everyone's blood run cold. You had a choice. Now, there is none. A shiver of fear ran through Earth's population. Was it over? Had humanity missed its chance to prepare? The message implied that Earth's fate had already been sealed. There was no longer any room for negotiation or survival. The alien force had made its decision, and it seemed there was nothing anyone could do to stop them. For the first time since the transmissions began, Earth's leaders and military personnel were silent. It wasn't because they lacked the courage to fight, it was because they understood the gravity of the situation. They were facing an enemy so advanced that they had no idea how to counteract its power. The message didn't just speak of victory, it spoke of absolute control. But as the transmission ended, something unexpected happened. The signal began to distort, glitching and warping in a way that seemed almost deliberate. Earth's scientists scrambled to analyze it, but the message was becoming less coherent. It was as if the transmission was being tampered with from the other side. For a moment, it felt like the alien force was pulling back, reconsidering, perhaps. But then came a different voice, a voice that was not the same as the one Earth had been hearing. It wasn't the cold, calculated alien leader speaking this time. This was a different voice. The tone was warmer, almost human-like. This is not your end. This is your beginning. The message was brief but powerful. The scientists who managed to capture it were left confused. What did it mean? Earth was not the end. Was this some form of trickery? Who was speaking? It was almost as if the transmission had split into two distinct voices. The first was a force of destruction, while the second seemed hopeful. It left everyone questioning what Earth's true fate would be. But Earth's governments knew one thing for certain: the enemy wasn't coming alone. If there was hope, it was fragile at best. The warning had been clear: the fleet was here, and Earth was the target. No one had the answers they needed to stop the coming invasion. As the alien fleet closed in on Earth's atmosphere, something unexpected happened. One by one, Earth's satellites began to detect movement in space. It wasn't the enemy ships, they were still on course to make their final approach. Instead, it was other ships, hidden in the shadows of the solar system. A fleet of unknown origin, silent and hidden from view, had been waiting for this moment. The sight of this new fleet ignited both fear and curiosity. Who were they? What was their purpose? They didn't seem to be aligned with the alien force, but their presence was more than just a coincidence. The final message from the mysterious transmission echoed in every mind: this is your beginning. Earth's military quickly scrambled to assess the situation. It seemed that help had arrived, but from who? And why now? The mysterious fleet didn't communicate, didn't reveal its intentions. Instead, it moved silently, positioning itself between Earth and the incoming alien fleet. Earth watched in stunned silence, unsure if this new force was an ally or an enemy. And yet, for the first time since the countdown had begun, there was a flicker of hope in the air. A strange, unfamiliar hope. The galaxy's eyes were fixed on Earth, waiting to see what would unfold. The next move was Earth's to make. Would they stand and fight, united against a common enemy? Or would they fall, as so many other planets had before them? As the final transmission ended, the world held its breath. The galaxy had been watching. The countdown was over. And Earth's fate would soon be decided. The silence was deafening. Earth's fate now rested on the fragile hope that this mysterious fleet was truly an ally. No one knew who they were or where they had come from. Their ships appeared sleek, stealthy, and far beyond Earth's technology. They had arrived just in time to position themselves between Earth and the incoming alien fleet. They were waiting. Watching. Preparing for something. For the first time in days, there was a glimmer of hope on Earth. Military leaders, after moments of tense silence, ordered their forces to stand down, for now. The mystery fleet had not attacked, had not even sent a clear message. But their arrival, like a shield between Earth and the alien invaders, gave humanity a fighting chance, or so it seemed. The incoming alien fleet, a vast armada of ominous ships, continued to approach Earth. The air was thick with tension. Each passing minute felt like an eternity. The transmissions had stopped, the mysterious fleet remained silent, and the world's leaders were left with a decision that could define their future. As Earth's defenses continued to strengthen, the government knew that they had no choice but to take action. The alien fleet would soon be within striking distance. Earth's leaders gathered in a final meeting, as the countdown to the invasion had entered its final hours. A sense of unity emerged, and for the first time, it wasn't just about protecting Earth, it was about something much bigger. They realized that they weren't just defending their planet, they were standing for something much more important: the survival of life across the galaxy. The alien force threatened not just Earth, but every planet that dared to exist. We don't just fight for Earth anymore. We fight for all of us. Those words echoed in the minds of everyone listening. The military forces activated their most powerful weapons. They had nothing left to lose. Humanity would not go down quietly. The battle for Earth, for survival, would begin. But the mystery fleet was still unmoving, still silent. Earth's forces watched them closely, unsure whether they would take action or remain as passive spectators. Then, without warning, a signal broke through the silence. It wasn't the enemy. It wasn't Earth's military. It was the mysterious fleet. Finally, they spoke. "We are the keepers. You are not alone. This is your final chance. Fight, and you will be saved. Fail, and you will be wiped from existence." The message was brief and chilling. The keepers, whoever they were, had been watching for a long time. They weren't here to destroy Earth, but they were here to give humanity one final chance. The stakes had never been higher. The mysterious fleet had not just come to defend Earth, they had come to test humanity, to see if Earth's people had what it took to survive. And if they failed, there would be no second chance. The alien fleet, now only days away, was still an unknown force. The keepers didn't know if humanity could truly defeat them, but they had given their warning: fight or perish. It was clear now. The time for preparing was over. Earth's leaders gave the final order: prepare for battle. Across the world, the sound of military engines roaring to life filled the air. Fighters, warships, and defense systems powered up. Humanity was ready to make its stand. Even if they were outmatched, outnumbered, and uncertain of victory, they would not give up. They would not let their world fall without a fight. The alien fleet was closer now. Earth's final defenses were set, but it wasn't just technology that Earth had left, it was its people, their will, their spirit, and their fight for survival. This would not be a war won by weapons alone. Humanity's strength was in its unity, in its belief that it deserved to survive, that Earth deserved to keep its place among the stars. As the alien fleet entered the outskirts of Earth's solar system, the world's leaders stood tall, knowing that whatever happened next, they had made their stand. Earth's forces moved into position, ready to face the enemy, unsure of what would happen but resolved to give everything they had. For the first time, the mysterious fleet moved. Slowly, their ships began to align with Earth's defense systems, as if they had been waiting for this moment, for this final push. They had been watching, testing, waiting for humanity to make its choice. The battle was about to begin. In the quiet of space, the two fleets faced each other. The alien ships, dark and menacing, loomed large, while Earth's forces, smaller but fierce, stood ready. And between them, the mysterious fleet, the keepers, watched silently, waiting to see if Earth's choice would be enough to tip the balance. Would humanity rise to the challenge? Or would this be the final stand, the last chance for a planet to survive in the vast and unforgiving galaxy? The answer was about to be written in the stars.